Thank you guys for tuning in to Soul Water Saturdays, where your soul never thirsts. I am excited for the introduction of a new topic this week. So, this week we will be talking about something totally new. Now, this week is another transparency week, so I will be sharing something personal that I went through, hoping that some people can connect to me or learn something or connect in some type of way. I know with a lot of us, we all go through the same problems and we all experience certain things that may be hard for us or may feel like turmoil in that moment. So hopefully through my experience and me sharing what I went through and what I learned, I help somebody else with something they may be experiencing currently or an obstacle that they still haven't been able to overcome. So this week's transparency topic is called Living in the Shadows, and I will go into depth on what I mean by that. So what does it mean to live in the shadows? When you guys hear living in the shadows, what do you think about? Living in the shadows is when you're basically living in the shadows of what somebody else wants for you instead of what you want. So it could be maybe you have a certain dream, aspiration, or desire, and instead of living up to what you want and what you desire in your own heart, you're walking in the footsteps of what somebody else wants for you. So I'll share my time that I was going through when I faced this issue. For a long time, guys, I lived in shadows. With me, I grew up being the only child because I was my mother's only child. My dad has other kids, but I did not live with them. I did not grow up with them. Therefore, I was the only child in my household. And my mom didn't have any more kids. And all my life growing up, all I wanted to do was make her happy. I wanted her to be proud of me. I just wanted her to feel like I did so much because she did so much for me. She took care of me all along. My father was not in my life. He was in prison. So my mom was a single mother taking care of me all by herself. And she was there for me. You know, she provided everything that she could provide, and she was the best mother that she knew how to be. Therefore, I wanted to repay her by being the best daughter that I knew how to be. And with that came, doing what it is that she wanted me to do, as opposed to what I wanted to do. Now, all of my life, since I was 5 years old, I've been writing. I used to get compliments from my teacher that I should be a writer. When I was writing poetry, I was in one teacher's class and she said, "Man, you are a bomb poet." I've literally been writing poetry since I was 5 years old. It's always been my escape. It's been a way for me to feel free. It's been a way for me to express myself at the tender age of 5. As I grew up, I started getting awards and things like that for writing poetry. I've always been a poet for as long as I knew, and that's what I loved and that's what I desired. Writing poetry, that was me. That's who God crafted me to be. That's what He put in me. That's what He wanted me to follow after. But my mom was always the one, of course, that wanted me to do something that was more lucrative, that brought in more funds, that brought in more money, that would make me successful. But that's not where my heart was. So anyways, I wanted to make her happy. So I went after being a nurse, a nursing degree. I'm telling you guys, like, I started college at the age of 18 and I kept dropping out. And the reason why is because I was not happy with what I was seeking after. It didn't serve me. It didn't complete me. It wasn't a part of my purpose. So I was seeking after something that I really had no desire to do. So all in all, I was living in the shadows. I was living in the shadows of what other people wanted for me, for what my mom wanted for me. And that's not the only situation that I had that with. It was like, when I would get into situations where I would meet people, instead of being my authentic self, instead of being me, instead of being who God crafted me to be, being that unique, creative, different person, I would try to be like them. I would try to be what they wanted. I would try to be liked by them. And I was also living in the shadows because I was trying to be somebody who God did not create me to be. So I was living in the shadows of what other people wanted, of who other people were, instead of being me. Now we'll talk about how this affected me growing up into an adult. Like literally, some of this stuff I just got past, like maybe in the, it's probably been a year, not two, probably a year. Some of this stuff I'm barely overcoming, and I'm really growing to be myself and be the lovely person that God made me. But how this affected me? Okay, so when I wasn't being myself, and when I was trying to be like everybody else, or trying to be somebody that I was not, instead of having people like me because I was like them, a lot of people hated me. People couldn't stand me because I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't, and they could tell that it was not authentic. They could tell that it was fake. They could tell that it was a facade. They could tell that it was a show because it wasn't shaitan. I wasn't being me. And people would be like, ugh, like disgusted, like didn't want to be around me, couldn't stand me. And I'm like, dang, why do so many people hate me? And I couldn't figure out, and I didn't realize that it was because I was not me. Like, guys, I'm different. I don't care. I love being me. I am very extra. I like extra earrings. I'm just me, you know, like I'm me. And now that I'm being myself, a lot of people actually like to be around me. They like me. But when I'm trying to be something that I'm not, and when I change, they notice the change, they notice the shift, and I'm not the greatest person to be around because I'm not being myself. Who God created me to be is perfect. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how anybody says, oh, you know, I may not be like a Beyonce or nothing like that. I'm not, because you know who I am? Shaitan. I am Beauty N Barzz. That is who God created me to be, period. So that's how I got affected in one part of it. People didn't want to be around me because I wasn't being myself. And then when it came to like basically trying to live after what my mom wanted for me instead of me, I was miserable. It made me miserable. Like, I literally just got over that stepping stone recently. I was still going to school for nursing. I was doing a human anatomy and physiology class. I had a B, and I did not want to be in the class anymore. I was sick, miserable. I couldn't stand it. I hated it. I was tired. I was drained. All of that. All because I was doing something that served me no purpose. I don't want to be a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I don't care about body parts. I don't care about all that stuff that they had me studying, the names of bones and craniums and all of that stuff. I don't care about none of that. You know what I care about? I care about dropping them bars, okay? I care about them stanzas, okay? I care about those rhymes. That's who I am. That's Beauty N Barzz. That's who God created me to be. So that is what I love. I'm telling you, sometimes I wake up and I have a poem in my head. Sometimes my life is poetry. Sometimes I live in a poem. Sometimes I go to sleep and I hear rhymes in my head, because that's who God made me to be. I don't go to sleep thinking about craniums. I don't go to sleep thinking about, what's those things called? I don't even know. Those bones and all that. I don't go to sleep thinking about that. You know, tarsals, metatarsals, carpals, whatever. I don't go to sleep thinking about that. I'm sorry. Like one time when I was studying for a test, I did go to sleep thinking about that because I was studying so hard. That's all I could think about. But honey, I'm telling you, when I go to sleep, I'm thinking about poetry. When I watch Maya Angelou, that's my favorite poet. When I watch her, I'm so inspired. Like, she really touches me. I love listening to her poetry. I like listening to William Shakespeare. I love reading about the book of Psalms in the Bible and some of the Bible books because it's poetry. Especially the Songs of Solomon. Oh my gosh. I love stuff like that because I love poetry, and that is who I am. What lesson did I learn from all of this? From living in the shadows, I learned a few lessons. Number one, never try to be somebody who God didn't call you to be, period. People will love you more if you're just being you, if you're being yourself. People will be liberated by that. They'll be drawn to that. They will love you because you'll have a certain shine and you'll have a certain like light about you that people just can't figure out because you're being you. You're living out your purpose. You're being who God created you to be, and people want to be around that, so they're drawn to that light. When you're not being that, you have a shadow of darkness that comes over you because you're not being that light to the world that God created. God has all of us here for a purpose. He wants us all to live out something in His lifetime while we are here. And if we're not being us, then we are not completing that purpose. We have enough of people trying to be other people. It is up to us to be leaders and be different. You know, God didn't create us all the same. We're not clones. We're different. So when you're trying to be somebody other than yourself, you have this shadow over yourself because you're blocking the light that God wants for you. That's why I said living in the shadows. And that's one thing that I learned. When I was trying to be other people, I was unhappy because I was too busy trying to maintain an image that I wasn't. That's not who I was. So that's one thing that I learned. Number two, I was absolutely miserable, period. I was miserable. People could see it. They was like, what the heck is wrong with this girl? And my pastor would say, be yourself. And I'm like, I am being myself. He's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, who is me? Who am I? So now I've discovered who I am. So sometimes we have to dig deep inside ourselves and ask God to reveal to us who we are in order to gain an understanding of who we are. So that's some lessons that I learned. If you try to be somebody else or do something else that somebody wants you to do, you will be absolutely miserable and unhappy. And that goes for the work world too. I don't care how much money the world and man says that poets make, because God will bring me the money. If I'm living the purpose, God is over everything. And if I'm living for the purpose that He set out for me to live, He will bring the finances. He will bring the followers. He will bring the increase. He will bring the fortune and the fame that I desire in my heart. But if I'm working at Southwest American, whatever airlines, and I'm doing something that does not relate to my purpose, all in all, it's going to end up failing me. I'm going to end up being miserable because it's not what God has for me. So always be you and always live up to the purpose that God has for you. Do not live in the shadows of what other people have for you. Don't live in the shadows of this world and what they want for you. Be you. Love you. And oh yeah, so what? Who cares what other people think? So thank you guys for tuning in. I just wanted to come to you guys with a short message, a transparency moment. Thank you guys for tuning in every week to Soul Water Saturdays to see what I'm up to. You never know what you're going to get. It's never the same. I try to keep it different. I will be having some special guests soon. I will be having some other things that'll be going on. So stay tuned and continue to watch. Thank you guys for following me. Thank you guys for being inspired by me. And thank you guys for just listening. I hope you all got something from this week and for the prior weeks. But continue to watch, continue to like, follow, share, continue to support Beauty N Barzz throughout this journey. So thank you for watching Soul Water Saturdays once again, where your soul never thirsts. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
You love me, so I'm feeling good. Say but not soft, you get that understood. God got me doing things I never would.